the Bear is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
And welcome into Poke the Bear episode 267, presented by Prize Picks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back on your when you play just $5. When you play just $5, and presented by Game Time. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That's Conor Ryan. Connor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Not the hottest start to the season. Let's just put that out there. You know, it's interesting. We a couple weeks ago when we were at Media Day, we mentioned me, you, and Ty Anderson were sitting there, and we're like, the opening night is either going to be like the easiest Bruins win ever because the Panthers are raising the banner, or it's going to be a blowout like 2018. And it was more so on the blowout. I know it was 6-4. Didn't feel like 6-4. Those were two goals at the end. I mean, it was really a much more lopsided game to anybody who watched. Brutal. I mean, that is, as bad a way as you can start the season. I have a lot of thoughts from this game. My biggest is they just weren't ready to play. They weren't ready to play. It was an extension of last year's postseason series. And they still can't break the puck out against the Panthers. You can say what you want about the forwards, and yes, the forwards did not play great. They didn't have the puck enough. They lost a lot of their one-on-one battles, especially the first period. But the Bruins still can't break the puck out. The Panthers just ruin them when they're coming out of their own zone with it, or they have the puck behind their own net. Turnovers, forced dump-ins, they clog the neutral zone. And I think it's concerning that that's still an issue. Now, it is game one of the season of 82. And let's be real. Bruins won all four last year in the regular season. Doesn't mean doesn't mean a heck of a lot when you're winning all the regular season games. But I think it's that theme is still there where I'm like, ooh, that's not good.
Yeah, very frustrating, I think is probably the best way to put it, right? Because you look at all the moves the Bruins did this offseason with Lindholm and Zadorov and a lot more size in the bottom six. Again, no team will say that there's, you're game planning for one team, but you can look at the writing on the wall, look at the history, right, between the Bruins and the Panthers the last couple of years and how it's ended for Boston these last two springs. It's clear that they were building this team up to be better equipped for another meeting with the Panthers, whether that's the regular season or obviously the playoffs. And as you said, that team didn't look like it was one that made sizable upgrades because it was the same old stuff we've seen. And you can point the blame and point the finger at a lot of different players for, not showing up, but also from the coaching perspective, Jim Montgomery and his staff, how do you have the guys not ready to go on time, which is something, as you said, we saw against Toronto in the playoffs and at times against Florida. And again, last year you had Jeremy Swayman that was able to bail you out when you were sleepwalking. Joonas Korpisalo, not as good, not as sharp. But in saying that, Korpisalo wasn't sharp, but shit, for every one or two miscues in net, right? Like a misread, a rebound issue, struggling with tracking the puck, there were 5 or 6 miscues and lapses further up the ice that led to that. I mean, 5 or 6, I think 5 of 6 of Florida's goals were on the rush. Multiple times the Bruins, turned the puck over under duress or couldn't get the puck in deep. And all of a sudden, Florida gets numbers going the other way and it leads to disaster. Where have we seen this before? It's literally it's like watching The Land Before Time and the 48 sequels they have. They're all slightly, maybe a little different. The cast a little different. You got another Stegosaurus joining the crew. It's the same shit every year. It's gonna be a bunch of dinosaurs. The T-Rex is gonna cause a bunch of havoc, and they're gonna overcome it at the end of the day.
Fast and Furious.
Yes, you know what? That's probably a more
ripping
apt
cars.
Version. Me going with The Land Before Time as the tired franchise is a wild thing, but the sentiment stands. Whether it's Dominic Toretto or a bunch of iguanodons, however you want to say it, that is what the Bruins have been the last couple of years going up against Florida. And it's this, this team is bigger, stronger, all that, but it's not going to matter all that much if you're turning the puck over and your goalie's under duress. Like, yes, it's great if you can, blow up Sam Bennett with a hit, or you can, drop the gloves with Matthew Tkachuk and all that. That didn't happen. And you know why it didn't happen? Because the Panthers didn't need to mix things up when they're kicking your ass up 6-2 late in the game. Like, you got to execute and do what you can to, not play into Florida's traps and, playing to their strengths. And it's the same thing we've seen in the last 2 years. And I think that's the frustrating thing, right?
It is. And I think, you mentioned like the fights, and I saw some stuff on Twitter of people being like, oh, the Panthers are cowards. It's like, no, they are not. They are a very smart, disciplined team. Yes, they have a way better grasp of what they're doing than the Bruins have of what they're doing. And I think you see, they get away with stuff. Like, they do get away with stuff. And by the way, like, they play on the edge. Sometimes they go over, but they're pretty good at towing that line. And it's not their fault that they get away with stuff. It isn't. And again, like, you look at, Frederick saying, oh, it's, I didn't know that was a thing in the game. Well, that's been going on forever, of guys not dropping of saying, you want to go, and then not dropping the gloves. Like, again, it breaks their brain. And I understand, I get Kastelik fighting at the beginning. I think they were down 2-0 at that point. It was, try to get things. So Greer also initiated it. So it wasn't Kastelik.
Bruins legend.
Yeah, Bruins, exactly. Bruins legend. But again, you look at, Zadorov trying to start stuff, Frederick trying to start stuff immediately. And it's like, you're overextending yourself. You're putting yourself in the box. You're taking penalties. Like Max Jones, dude, what taking out the linesman. Like, what the hell?
Almost remove that man's arm. It was like Luke Skywalker losing his hand at Empire Strikes Back. I was like,
what did he do to you?
His like arm went like Gumby style. I was like, oh my god.
The linesman was so tough. He just played the rest of the game with like a broken arm.
I
just
know,
like trying to put his hand up, he can't quite do it.
Yeah.
But so again, I just like, and I tweeted this. And I got some pushback for it. Like, the Bruins went out this offseason, as you said, and basically tried to model themselves as a team that could take on the Panthers. And I get it. The Panthers are the team in the Atlantic right now. I understand that. But if it's just to, like, bully the Panthers, I mean, last night's a perfect example of why the best revenge you can get on someone is on the scoreboard. We've always said this. Like, if you're going to get even with a team, why don't you try beating them? And I don't mean, like, grabbing Tkachuk in a scrum and doing nothing. Like, I don't know what people want the Bruins to do. Like, do you want the Bruins to drop their gloves and just start like wailing away at Matthew Tkachuk? Is this like, 1995 or something? It just, you can't do that. So the only way to beat this team, you need to beat them on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And obviously there are adjustments that need to be made for that to happen. But, stop with the getting goaded into everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally what Brad Marchand has said. And if Brad Marchand is the voice of reason here, like, and again, this is a guy that has been around the block, that has been in Matthew Tkachuk's shoes, right, of bugging the bejesus out of guys.
Yes.
And, even like look back at last year where he gets punched by Bennett, misses 2 games. Before game 6, he's like, yeah, no, it's part of the game. I'm like, yeah, he's got away with one, but I've got to go beat them. And the same thing, he was asked about it again before this game opened. He's like, yeah, you do what you got to do in the playoffs, and the best way to get revenge is sending them home. So yeah, there'll be, you can be clamoring for like a line brawl on Monday when these guys meet again or anything like that. It's all well and good. The best way to get back at them is to send their ass home in April and May. That's how you got to do it. Like, that has to be the most important thing. And as you said, the Bruins, whether it's the focus, whatever it may be, for a team that obviously they have a lot of history against, the best way to get back at this team is to be the one that sends them packing before they get back to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and again, I think that also, like, that stems from the breakout needs to be figured out. That to me is the most egregious thing. I mean, the fact that this is still an issue after 3 years, the Panthers' forecheck is still causing you fits. You're turning the puck over. You're dumping it off the glass. And credit to them. They have a great forecheck. They clog the neutral zone. So even when you get when you get over your own blue line, there aren't many options. And they force you to dump it in. And then they have no problem breaking it out. It happens every time. So, I mean, again, like, they're well coached. And I got to be honest, Connor, Bruins didn't look like a well-coached team last night. Undisciplined, not ready to go. Horrendous at winning battles. And I mean, Montgomery does preach win your battles. That's not like, that's just wanting it more. Like that's, a lot of those goals.
Net front coverage, getting out muscled.
Yep,
and again, like
that was
Korpisalo was not good, right? Like, and we're going to touch more on that. But like, if your big takeaway was like, this dude sucks, like, can't believe we traded Omar, look at what was happening in front of him. Like, there was plenty of blame to go around with how that game played out.
By the way, shout out to Linus Ullmark. 4 years, 8.25 gets the exact same money. I thought that was awesome.
Yes.
Like, good for you, dude. Go get your money. Even though you're getting the crappy questions from the Ottawa reporters, you still putting up with it. I like that it's the same amount. Like, amount of money. Like, Swayman set the state. Swayman walked, so Linus Ullmark could also walk because it's the same price. So
I was gonna say fly. Is that I can never get that actual phrase like correct. So
yeah, well, I think it's good enough. But again, my point is, didn't look like a well-coached team, and that doesn't bode well for a head coach who right now is a lame duck. We'll get into that first, though. Quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks.
Fall is finally here. You know what that means. Football season is back. And there's so many ways for you to get in on the action and win up to 100 times your cash on Prize Picks, as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level on the gridiron, ice, court, and much more. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Every Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. PrizePicks is also the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks makes sure that your picks are still live. There's really no shortage of ways to participate in PrizePicks, especially during football season. This week, I'm picking Justin Jefferson for more than 83.5 receiving yards and Patrick Mahomes for less than 267.5 passing yards. It's really that easy. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Now, let's get back to the show.
So I mentioned the Montgomery thing, and I think it's an interesting storyline I think we're going to continue to talk about until either he gets an extension or he's let go. Because again, I think, if they continue to play like this, now they have Montreal Thursday, like that should be a stomp. I mean, it should be. I mean, we'll see. But, on paper, that should be a win. And we'll see how they do over the next month. But I do think there is a lot riding on him. And I think there's that famous photo now from that Panther game of him putting his hands over his face because they just weren't ready. And I get like the idea the Panthers raised their banner. Like they have momentum. I completely understand that.
Yep.
But like the Bruins have been supposedly getting hyped up for this game since the beginning of training camp. And to come out like that, I just like, are they tuning him out? I don't know. And that's the thing where it's like, adjustment wise and message wise, what is it? Why are the Panthers such a problem for the Bruins? And I think, you hope it doesn't cost Montgomery his job, but I think it's something you got to talk about and consider.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough, right? When you look at I think this team where you have so many new faces, and I think I forget who mentioned it, but like you also have to carve out the fact that this is a team that is trying to kind of shift their mentality, and what exactly it is remains to be seen. But like they're going from like this high paced group to a group that's maybe a little like slower but more physical. Like you are kind of changing what you want to be, and maybe that's why. When you compound that with like the emotion of the game and the matchup against the Panthers, why they were taking, penalties, like they were trying to be more assertive. Like you also have this kind of sea change in terms of what kind of team they're trying to be and what, not culture, right? Because I think that's more of out off the ice and stuff like that, but what kind of group you want to be and what kind of identity you want to adhere to. And that's tough to kind of find that footing in the middle of the year when you've got so many new guys in place already, and you've got a coach in Jim Montgomery whose the margin of error for him is not, is not as wide as a guy that, has a long-term contract. So it makes for a precarious spot for the Bruins right now. And, not to say that, this team goes, 5-7 out of the gate, like, oh God, they're not going to be able to right the ship. But you have to anticipate the potential for some growing pains out of the gate. And that leads to issues in terms of a guy that's, again, as you said, is a lame duck coach. That's why we said, if you are, if you're the Bruins and you are working on a contract, but you haven't signed it yet, try to do it before the year starts. Because even if if he's a guy that you're committed to and you want to invest in as your head coach for the future or for the long haul, you don't want to have a situation like this where all of a sudden they're slow out of the gate with all these new pieces, and all of a sudden the pressure, the optics, and the narrative shifts a little bit. So it's an interesting spot for Montgomery and the Bruins to be in, because it would not surprise me if the team does need some time just to get reacclimated as to what they're trying to build out there on the ice. Because, frustrating is how I described the game. It was also just disjointed, right? It feels like it was very much a work in progress of what they were on Tuesday night. Ideally is much different from what it is in April moving forward, beyond just the scoreboard, but in terms of what they're trying to build.
I would hope if they're looking like that in April and May, I think you and I are going to be looking for content to talk about in mid-April. Yeah, we get ready to learn Cancun, buddy. I also with Montgomery. You hit it with this is sort of a new team, a new identity. It takes time. I also think you have the Swayman stuff. I don't know. Yeah. It's been a distraction, and they can say it isn't. And, they're going to say that. If we're not going to come out and say, oh, it was a huge distraction, we couldn't focus. But it is something. It is a storyline. You don't have your number one goalie for all of camp. And I do think that can play a role. And, you match that with your D, Zadorov is added to it. You match that with a new top line. You're trying to kind of put together that second line. Patra's out. They clearly need him back for that third line, I think. Yeah. I think he would look a lot better with Frederick and Brazeau. But again, it's going to take time. And are the Bruins front office ownership, are they going to be cool with that? Are they going to be cool with potentially not being a top team for the first couple weeks? Now, they could right the ship on Thursday and they could set sail and be completely fine and completely. It's one game. But again, that's a big hyped up game and you didn't come to play. And your defense was atrocious. I mean, those net front battles. And again, it's funny because Korpisalo obviously, got crap, gave up 6 goals, not the most ideal start. Rebound control wasn't great. Lost sight of the puck a couple times. But, I mean, that was so bad defensively in front of him. I think I saw somewhere on Twitter. I didn't check the actual stat, so forgive me if I'm wrong on this. But I think, was it 5.37 goals expected against him last night?
Obviously, it depends on which side it is. But I think Natural Stat Trick had 5.10, I think. So. Okay,
so in the 5 range. I think
it was definitely in the 5. All of them were in the 5 range.
The one you really want back is that shorthanded goal. That was a backbreaker, and especially at that time.
That is a Bruce Cassidy special. Needed a save there. That is a post game Cassidy. Oh, I need a save there.
Need a save there. Yes, that's a Cam Neely water bottle throw across the press box. I want to get into another big thought I had from Wednesday night, and we also might do some what we liked. If there was anything there, which I don't think there was a heck of a lot, but. Maybe a couple things, we'll get into that. First, a quick word from our friends over at Game Time. Fall is beginning, which means football is back. Nothing beats a college football atmosphere. And with both college and NFL games, who doesn't love a good tailgate? Get to the game with Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. This fall, my friends and I are going to the Patriots-Titans game in Tennessee. And how will we get tickets for the game? Game Time, of course. The super deal has been amazing to us in the past, and there's no doubt it will be great to us again. I just love the curated deals, which make it easier to find the best price on great seats. Some other features I love are the lowest price guarantee. or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. All-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. So, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Now, back to the show. So, I think a lot of people thought Jeremy Swayman was coming in that second period after 4 goals in the first. Clearly looked like that might be the case. I got to say, though, thank God he did not start that game. Thank God. Can you imagine facing that after not having faced NHL shots in a long time, not having played an NHL game since last May? The thought of that, of him just getting shellacked. Maybe he makes a ton of saves. Maybe it's all adrenaline. Like, he could do it. But chances are he also would have struggled given the situation that he is in. And I do think it's right that they didn't put him in. I got to say, like, that's sort of like when you want to save your bullpen, like, you know, in a playoff series, like, hey, let's let the starter kind of just get like crushed and let's just kind of, let's save the other guy. So I was for it, but thank God he didn't start. And I know people are like, oh, he makes so much money. Yeah, but did you see how bad the team played in front of him? I think it would have been a really bad foot to get off on.
Yeah, no, I mean, you look at it, it's like if you had like tendonitis in your foot and you were like rough for like a month recovering. They're like, oh, by the way, like Boston Marathon's tomorrow. Like get back out there. It's like, hell no. Like if there's a team that's like the equivalent of Heartbreak Hill, it's going against the Florida Panthers and how aggressive and assertive they are. But yeah, I agree. Even if Swayman was sharper in that game and locked in, the defense in front of him wasn't going to do him any favors at all. Like, you're still looking, if it's not 6 goals, it's probably 5, right? Like, just the way.
And they lose by 1. They could have won, Right,
oh my God. Exactly. So yeah, I do think it was the right call, especially not to. I think you already looked at how disjointed and just the way that the game was going, like, awful. Just couldn't find any cohesion at all. And the fact that, you bring in Swayman in there just adds more second guessing and more kind of a lack of cohesion with how that game was going. So if I'm the Bruins, I'm glad that they didn't turn to him, because would that make you feel better if you're a Bruins fan? If like Korpisalo gets lit up in the first period, you turn to Swayman, who gets shredded because they can't defend the rush in front of them, right? Like, that is the issue. Fun.
I was going to say, Korpisalo made some huge saves. Like, dude, first shot he faced was a breakaway, or just a chance that no defenseman was within 5 feet of him. And again, he didn't play great. But I also wonder this, like we talked about this when they got Korpisalo and they traded Linus Ullmark. They were not an amazing defensive team last year. There were many games they got bailed out in because the tandem was so good, going on and off, switching games. I do think you kind of have to prepare yourself for some of this, where there are going to be games that Korpisalo goes in and does an admirable job, but he's not going to save you the game. He's not going to steal you the game. And I also think there are going to be nights that Swayman's playing a lot. And so you're not going to have him at 100% all the time. And there are going to be games where you notice how bad the defense is. I think people don't realize, like, last year, their defense there were a lot of games where it was like, man, what are they doing? And even at the end of that 2022-23 season, that their defense was a little porous. And again, you don't notice it because the goaltending's so good. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. Now, obviously, Swayman's still here, but I wonder if this is sort of the future with Korpisalo in net instead of Linus Ullmark. And I think that's natural.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're not going to get bailed out to the same degree as what the last 3 years were. And again, like, we've talked a lot about the defense and how bad it has been, but also it was not great from Korpisalo. You could have also made the case that the Panthers could have had 9 goals. There was a lot
That's what I mean. Like,
yeah, like, so he needs to tighten things up. Like, he struggled with rebound control, struggled to track the puck at times. There's a lot of like that looking as the puck's flying around him, which is not, the optics aren't that great, right? So yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think, we did our like bold predictions. I don't think either of us were being like, yeah, I think Korpisalo is going to have like a nice 8.95 save percentage. Like that would not be great. But if he can just be a guy that can, be a 9-10, 9-12, something like that, and add just some sort of stability into whatever his reps are, you'll take that. And I think you look at just the way that game went, not saying that the defense, if it just tightened things up, it would have been a 37 save performance from Korpisalo. But if you can, have a guy that can give you around, 2 or 3 goals allowed and has you in the fight for those backup role, in that backup role, you'll take it.
I agree. So this show's been very negative. Again, like, what do you want from us? Any positives in that game?
Well, the PK went 6 for 6, so that's a good.
There you go.
Right?
Again, a continuation of last year.
Yeah, I thought Elias Lindholm looked all right. Face-offs were kind of a little wonky there for him, but liked his. He had a nice one-timer. I do like how I think the movement on the power play, even though they only scored kind of in garbage time. Marchand had more of a shot-first approach. He saw more pucks going through with Lindholm in the bumper there. So I think especially when you look at the power play and the fact that this team is probably going to be a work in progress in terms of 5-on-5 scoring, especially further down the lineup, you're going to need your power play to really rebound from the fact that they just completely ran out of fuel at the end of last year. And I think a guy like Lindholm in place there offers some room for optimism of just what he can provide and how much he can be another a scoring threat in that bumper spot, especially if so many guys are going to be keyed in on taking away Pastrnak and his shot. You need Lindholm, at the bumper, and you also need Brad Marchand being more of a shot first guy at the half wall. And I think you saw signs of that being the case in that game yesterday.
I agree. I can agree with that. I didn't have any big things that I really liked. I will say.
Don't blame
you. I will
you.
say one thing. That Justin Brazeau pass to Trent Frederick on that goal.
Yeah,
I really liked. And again, that shows what Brazeau can be. He had some other nice net front plays in the offensive zone. I wonder if and when he sort of starts to push for higher spots in the lineup. Good for Frederick. Good start to his contract year. Zaka, shoot first. Really nice
good
shot. Good way to start. Yeah. McAvoy jumping in the rush, taking sort of an assertive stance on offense. So I'll give them those. But again, I just, I don't know if I made this point earlier. I mentioned, the Bruins wanting to go get bigger, and with the whole idea of there's this whole notion of, there's these, if a team has enforcers on the ice, they police. And I think that's BS. I think that is I've never really subscribed to that. Sam Bennett just completely trucks Joonas Korpisalo. I mean, again, I forget who was on the ice for it. But I don't think he cares if Nikita Zadorov is on the ice or not. I don't think he cares if Kastelik is on the ice or not. And you see other plays too, late hits and slashes and things like that, and stuff after the whistle. This isn't old time hockey. So the whole notion of Max Jones gonna make him pay. It's they actually did that. Mark Kastelik had
the linesman paid.
Yeah, the linesman paid. Mark Kastelik had that hit. AJ Greer dropped the gloves immediately. I just, the whole idea of policing to me that, now that Zadorov's on the ice, no Bruins have to worry. Brad Marchand can skate, end with his head down. David Pastrnak doesn't have to worry. I think that's so overblown. I don't subscribe to that. And I think you saw it. And I think they don't care. The Panthers don't care, and they're not going to answer for it. So don't bother trying to make them answer for it. Score some freaking goals and learn how to pass the puck out of your own zone. Those are the two right there. That's it. That's all you got to do. Easy, right? Easy. My God.
Simple. Why haven't they just had you give a speech before the playoffs, Evan?
People are saying. People are saying. People have been saying. But yeah, so tough game 1. On to game 2. Not the best start to the year, but Swayman's locked up, I guess, so people are happy. Hopefully better things for us to talk about in the future.
Yes.
Connor, what can the people look forward to from you over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, you can read my stuff over at the Globe and Boston.com. We'll have you covered every step of the way this season, from recaps, features, breakdowns, analysis, all that stuff. So you can read my stuff over there from now until hopefully June. Won't be the case if they play like they did on Tuesday, but let's hope. We'll see how far this team can go. But yeah, you can read all of my stuff over there. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all of that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. Poke the Bear listeners. Have a great rest of your week.